So many months back, I made a video review of the UF8, and I talked about how I was gonna make a video dedicated to Luna and the UF8. Well, I finished the video and then my drive crashed. Then I got busy. Now at the time of filming this video, just 2 days ago, SSL came out with the new 4KB plugin, and along with it, they quietly released a update to the UF8, and it's a specific Luna profile. They've finally given this device a Luna profile, and also conveniently at the same time, Luna updated with a few new features that makes this guy even cooler to use, and it definitely makes the UF8 the best controller for Luna without a shadow of a doubt. So we're gonna go over why in this video. Since the release, I also updated my workflow on the UF8 as well as my preset. So if you've already picked up the preset for the UF8, go to the website and you can get the update for free as well. And while you're there, you can check out the presets for the UAD platform that I have, as well as scheduling any one-on-one time if you want to schedule one-on-one time with me. For everyone else, if you don't have the UF8 and you're just trying to take a look at what this workflow looks like, please give the video a like, leave a comment below, let me know what you think of the workflow, what you like about it, and subscribe to the channel for all things UAD and Luna. All right, so obviously what makes using the UF8 really special is the custom keys. And this is primarily because we all know MCU is kind of an archaic platform, and this is really where the SSL 360 app takes over. Once you're in there, you can start to really define what soft keys across the top of your UF8, what they actually do. And you get 5 banks of them. Now again, I covered all this in the review. So what I've tried to do with my UF8 is mimic the on-screen experience, but just physically on the controller. That way you don't have to think about what you're doing and you can get into this really speedy workflow. So what do I mean by that? Well, if you go up here to this top left corner, that's where you'd create a new track. And in my template, it's the same thing. So you've got a new track, new instrument, and then new bus. Just press it, name it, okay, cool. Or if you want to create a new bus, right? Super easy. And you don't have to think about it. It's the same exact kind of mental structure. You want to go to the top left corner of your screen, you go to the top left corner of your device. Going down this controller, with this latest Luna update, they did make this flip feature work. So what flip does is it flips whatever is across these encoder knobs and makes it available to control on the fader. Now, why would you want to use that? You now have the ability to control sends and headphone cues. Now, I've made that available across my little workflows, but if you're ever in a pinch, you just press VPOT and you can access your sends. So this becomes really cool when you're recording automation, doing things like sends on fader. So you can see here on the Scratch Vocals track that I've got a send. And what I would do is I'd have my channel selected, I press sends, and you can see that send volume is now assigned to this VPOT. And if I flip it, now you can see in Luna, it follows my control. So this is great if you were to automate effects. But the second thing that's really cool, and I haven't seen this in other DAWs yet, but it's the cues control. So it's the same thing. If I go to cues, now I don't really have any cues at the moment, but I could build a headphone mix. Let me pull it up on the screen here. You can see I could go ahead and build a headphone mix for all the different channels, and you would select it. But here's where it gets really, really cool, is that if you hold it down, you can pick a cue to assign to VPOTs. Now, I was a little confused at this at first, but if I press Q2, now I'm actually controlling this entire bank of faders, and that becomes really cool. Now I am on Q2, so I'll show you what I mean. So now I can it's almost like having like a side mixer, if you will, if you want to build headphone mixes, which is really, really, really cool. So it's literally just like being able to control an independent headphone mix via your faders, which is obviously going to be way more fun and useful and tactile than clicking with a mouse. So that's flip faders, and to escape out of that, you would just press pan. Now you're kind of back to the original control. Continuing down, you've got automation. That's really straightforward. Whatever track is selected, obviously, you've got read, latch, touch, and you've got trim as well. So far, the whole workflow has been really, really intuitive, right? You've got the fast keys here, you've got the automation here. Everything's doing what it's saying it's doing. There's no real interpretation. So you can think less and just do more, right? Coming over here, right, if we go back to our timeline, you can obviously zoom in. But if you hold this down, now you get transport control. You can record right from there. Now, I don't really use that a whole lot because it's just easier to press the space bar on your keyboard, but it is there if you want to do it. Of course, you've got navigation control, and then you've also got, you can see I can scrub through the different tracks. Then you've got the focus button, and this really kind of takes everything to the next level, in my opinion, because if you were to pull up a plugin, whatever your mouse is hovered on, you can now control on your screen, right? Now, that's, again, a feature that's available in other DAWs. It's just part of this SSL thing. But again, I think it kind of takes the control to the next level for Luna. Then, of course, bank is going to bank your channels, right? And you can assign whether or not that's making your screen follow what you're doing here, which is probably good. The selection mode, I don't really find this very useful. I'd like this to be kind of expanded upon, but currently the way it is, normal controls the tracks. When you put it into record mode, obviously you can arm a track. You can see my track here gets armed. Or if you find a bus, you can spill the bus by pressing the select button. Now, another thing that doesn't really seem to work is the find control. I'm sure it works just like a shift key, really, if you were to hold it down and use it as a modifier, but it doesn't really control anything relative to these physical controls. So again, I find this useless. I find this useless. Pan is kind of like an escape key for your VPOTs, so that's just helpful to know. Now, this is my favorite part. This is a part that I find really useful relative to Luna. So in Luna, you can see that you have these 4 workflows. You've got record workflow, MIDI, edit, and then you've got mix. And if you want to compartmentalize the way you think when you work, like I do, you're going to want to use different functions while you're in different stages. So in the record workflow, it's going to be the first workflow. Then you've got MIDI, edit, and then mix. So in the first workflow, you've got access right across the top to your most used parameters, right? You're always going to want to be flipping between your timeline and mixer. But while you're on your timeline, you might want to add a marker really quickly, right? So you just press marker and type in whatever you're marking and then enter, right? Straightforward. But then you get access to those sends, headphone cues right from this, because that's during your tracking phase. You're probably going to be building your headphone cues, etc. Quick access to your click on or off, track input enable, record enable, and then new version. And again, if you're tracking, you're going to use this all the time, but you might not be comping quite yet, so you don't really need to jump around in those versions necessarily. You're just going to be tracking. Same thing when you move to your MIDI workflow. You get quick access to the quantize menu, and then quick access to actually hit quantize. If you were to highlight some MIDI, let me show you this one. If in MIDI, a lot of times you might want to like take apart and duplicate it and then move it an octave up. So you've got access to do that right here really quick. I find myself using that often. Of course, you've also got the loop toggle. Then you've got the same thing. You've got input enable, record enable, and then new version. And those don't move as well. I thought that it was pretty, if you want to get into like this muscle memory kind of thing, I figured it'd be pretty useful to keep some of those commands in the same spot. Moving to the edit workflow, this is where you're going to find your groups, new group, groups on or off. I find myself doing that all the time. You've got quick comping. So this is pretty sweet if you're trying to comp something. If you wanted to comp really easily without having the keyboard command, you can use this and just go up and paste it. Now I'm building a version really easily. Highlight what I want. You get the idea, right? Pretty cool. So you have version up, version down, you get the idea. Then you can nudge your tracks. That's something that you do all the time when you're in edit mode. And then same thing, you can turn loop on or off. And again, timeline mixer, you're always kind of swapping back and forth. Going into the mix phase, this is kind of where you see just a few more things, right? You're gonna find your sends command here again, because again, when you're in the mix workflow, you're gonna be accessing sends a lot more frequently than you would, say, versions, right? You've already edited that, so why would you need that command there? And then of course you've got bus spill, so again, if I'm working with this acoustic bus, I can spill the bus that way. I know that I could have it in rec mode, but again, I think that's a bit confusing, whereas bus spill, it's a lot easier that way. Again, click on or off. And then one of my favorites here is plugin GUI Toggle. So you can, have a handful of these things up on your screen and just toggle them on and off. That's pretty useful if you're, flying around your session, but you want to be able to access your plugins quickly. And then again, loop on or off. What I really like about this workflow is, again, I don't have to really think too hard. If I want to record a track on this acoustic track, right, I just turn on input enable, record enable, and then there I'm good to go. I just press record, or I use the keyboard shortcut for record, and again, click on or off. So when you hover and hold and you choose a send to display across the board, I think that would be really great if this corresponded with these guys here. So if I long press this down, maybe these guys start flashing, and the button number that I press here corresponds with what's assigned across these VPOTs. I think that would be a lot better. Another thing that I would really like to see, what I'd really love to be able to see, is that if I press plugin, these buttons will load whatever plugin is loaded in whatever respective slot. What do I mean by this? So taking a look at the mixer, on this bass track, if I wanted to load this 176, if I wanted that GUI to pull up, I'd just press number 1, and then you'd see the GUI pop up on your screen, or I could press it again to close it. Now that's obviously not how it currently is, but I'd really love to see that. Another thing that I would really like to see, and this is just kind of an SSL thing across the board, but I'd like to be able to see the backgrounds on these displays change colors relative to my tracks. I think that would make a lot of sense. Or maybe it's the select, these little select things, maybe that changes colors, I'm not sure. Finally, the implementation of plugin control. If anybody from UA or SSL is watching this, what I would really like to see is a really simple learn mode. I hate the way that it is in Logic, and it's almost unusable, especially the way that it auto maps across some of these encoders. Just make it start from nothing and then let us assign what we want to each parameter. That would be a lot better. Another thing I'd really like to see is the scribble strips being able to have like full names. That would be just lovely. The whole 7-character MCU thing, you guys got to figure out a fix for that, because that's just silly. And then I think the last thing that would be really cool is if VPOT control, if that was really just another bank of soft keys, that'd be pretty cool. Because I mean, in reality, you can't edit or change any of this. So unless SSL develops some commands across the board, these are literally just blank, useless commands. So that's kind of silly, but again, that'd be pretty cool. And then if you could also just assign the rest of the stuff, I mean, I don't see why you couldn't necessarily use SSL 360 to be able to assign stuff to these controls as well. I'm sure that there are people out there that would really, really like that ability. Even the solo cut and select, I like just make this whole thing completely customizable via the 360 app. That'd be great. But yeah, ultimately, again, being that these other controllers can't customize the way that this SSL does, no doubt that this actually enhances the Luna experience versus other controllers. So there you have it. Anyway, guys, I hope that you liked the video. I really think that this SSL is the best controller out there on the market, period. I actually really like that SSL has listened to its user base and made a Luna profile. That's always a good thing. Again, they're constantly coming out with new stuff, so SSL's killing it. If you want to give this workflow a try and you have the UF8, again, go to my website. You can pick up the enhanced new version of this preset for free. And again, to support the channel further, I have my preset packs, or you can schedule one-on-one time with me. I greatly appreciate the support, guys. Thanks for watching the video, and we'll see you on the next one. Cheers.